Greetings, big nation. It's 3 minutes after high noon in Jamaica and on the eastern seaboard of the United States. As we link you on the public eye and the open mind on the Bridge 99 FM. This is a station that's designed to bring people of Jamaican origin, of Jamaican affection, of Jamaican interest all over the world together. That's what radio should do. That's what the magic of technology allows us to do. I'm broadcasting from Florida today. My co-host, the Honorable Pearnel Charles, is in studio in Kingston, and later on we'll be joining Irwine Clare at Irie Jam in New York. Pearnel, good day to you.
Good day, Ronnie. You see what technology is doing to us, are doing for us?
And it's great. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Later on in the program today, we welcome the Honorable Favourable Williams, who's the Minister of Education, and she's going to be talking about with us about violence in school. And later on this afternoon, when we undertake the global connection, we have a guest who's facilitating a number of students and scholarships for Jamaicans, the philanthropy, the generosity of spirit of the diaspora once more coming to the fore. You're on the Bridge 99 FM. Follow us on Instagram at the Bridge 99 FM and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Bridge 99 FM. 99.13579 on the FM dial. Thanks so much for sharing with us. So, Mr. Charles, I'm abroad for a few days, off island for a few days, and being exposed to a number of Jamaican businesses here in the state of Florida, and they're doing very well using the Jamaican brand name of our food products, our cultural insignia. But I just wish that they were in Jamaica, and that the benefit and the foreign exchange and the employment would be in our economy rather than offshore. What do you think?
Well, there was a story, a reporting out of the press that I think were farm workers who have been traveling to Florida and Canada, and how well they were doing when they get back to Jamaica, and what they learn on the farm up there, the techniques, the new way of fertilization, the new way of treating plants. So in other words, farm workers are doing very well, learning from the American farmers how to work in Jamaica, and it seems to be a very good thing. So we need some of the advanced the Jamaicans with advanced technology to really let the Jamaican workers, the Jamaican farmers get the understanding, because I've been complaining, I've been crying, I've been hearing everybody that we don't know what is coming. We may have too much rain or too much sun, but it will be a serious problem for food in Jamaica.
I understand that, and I think I endorse your suggestions about technology transfer, and that doesn't mean big machines or only for computer. That means opening the eyes of the people like the farm workers you're speaking of, who hopefully some of them will come back and bring modern technology into their holdings here. But I'm going to be more controversial with you. I see Jamaican enterprises in the United States particularly, which I wish were domiciled in Jamaica. The majority of these businesses are headed by people of Jamaican ancestry or Jamaican nationality who emigrated from Jamaica in the 70s, 1970s, or the 1980s. Now, I supported and continue to support the social revolution that took place within the 1970s. But in retrospect, I have to be honest and say that I regret that it happened in a way that aggravated the insecurities of many people and that alienated them from keeping their roots planted in our soil rather than seeking to transfer them as many have done successfully on a foreign land. You've been through that era too. What say you?
Well, I support what you have said there, Ronnie, and I think it's good that you say it before me, because from a political point of view, we would say that a lot of those people were leaving Jamaica because of the social and political situation in Jamaica then. However, the good thing about it is that they have not forgotten us, and the further whatever improvement they have had over there, they're sharing it with us. And this is not only in Jamaica, but, in Florida, but right across the diaspora. Many who have left Jamaica because of what we would call the social revolution that took place at that time, which they were not happy with, could not handle, and could do better otherwise, so they walk away from it. But, as I said, they have not left us. In fact, they are more comfortable now with both sides, and they're giving back to Jamaica a lot of what they would have done here.
Well, yes, they're giving back in terms of philanthropy. As we announced, we're going to be talking with on the Global Connection with someone who's doing that, and you and I have had discourse and been enthralled by many who give back. But the foreign exchange from the Jamaican branded businesses are inuring to the state of Florida and the city of Toronto, Mr. Charles. They're not inuring to the Jamaican GDP.
Yes. Well, whatever contribution they make in Jamaica, whatever contribution they make from where they are, it helps us here. It helps us in our dollar exchange. It helps us in education. It helps us in purchasing what we are not producing here that we need US dollars to purchase from there. So it's good. It's good in my opinion. Good anyway you take it, Ronnie.
The history is fine when you look at it in hindsight, and there's a sobering reality of being a derivative economy, which we have to face. Even now, to find use for excess labor, to depend for the philanthropy that for education and for health, etc. Jamaica remains a derivative economy, and I am troubled by that. What I notice traveling abroad, as limited as that has been, is a number of job vacancies that exist, and I wonder if there isn't an opening for more Jamaican workers to migrate, even seasonally, to fulfill some of the job vacancies here. Everybody is hiring, and nobody apparently can get a stable workforce. What do you think?
And remember, it's not only because there was some, let's say, the politics in Jamaica, why a lot of Jamaicans leave Jamaica. In fact, Jamaica has been migrating for years, and whether they were going to England or to Canada or to America, and it just seems as if we like to move whenever we hear that things can be better some other place rather than making it good here. So the class of people who were leaving in the 70s never generally had to go. I think they went because they felt they would do better for the children. They would get out of the row with, I would say, the class below them were more mobilizing in and using. They were fearful. So in the long run, however, Ronnie, I think that their contribution is still being made, and many are coming back.
Well, that's good, and I think we have to be careful nowadays, as always, how we project our country, and that the differences and divisions that that we bring upon ourselves, some real, some imagined, can really blight a generation. And I'm anxious that we don't walk that way again. Social change, economic reorganization, a leveling out of the class and racial distinctions in the country are essential, and had to happen. But we have to, our particular genius, our particular challenge is to be able to do that without nedging up each other's teeth and causing grievance and flight and distress. And it seems to me that is still a very important issue for our people. I pass the U.S. Embassy in Kingston on a daily basis, Mr. Charles,
Yes.
and the numbers outside have tripled in the last month or two. That distresses me. What do you think?
Well, let me say something earlier about what you said earlier. Many of the people who live in Jamaica, if they were in Jamaica, Jamaica would be better off today with what they are contributing here. But they took with them almost a generation. And they took with them their children. They took the skills. And we do have problem with that.
Why are they still going, sir?
What's that?
Why are they still going?
Well, I wonder if I should say that some Americans are coming too. You know, some of them are going and some are coming back because they are looking a better life for themselves and for their children. And they see better opportunities, better education. They are able to get to pay for their education and improve themselves better abroad. But the good thing about it, and you said it earlier, they have not forgotten us, and they are making a contribution to those of us who are here, and some are even coming back at this stage.
I am really enthused at your at your understanding and your maturity in this matter. I am impatient because if we follow that line, and it's a reality that we're facing, then Jamaica will always be the what left. Those of us who didn't manage to go or didn't feel like going, but always we're looking to somewhere else for the New Jerusalem, for the paradise. And I can't accept, my sense of nationhood rails against that.
Well, those of us who have been put in leadership position in the country, they are the one who has to be careful how they lead, because there are many Jamaicans who can find it very easy to leave. And if you put pressure on them, social pressure, take away the opportunities that they could get, otherwise they're just not going to stay, because the barriers between going and coming is so low for a certain class of people. People with money, people with skills, people with education, they're able to leave and they're not politically connected to us in a way to say, listen, if it weren't because of I wanted to help the poor in Jamaica, I would have gone and made myself better. There are very few who say that, you know, but it is said, they say, listen, I'm going and I will send back something, can give you as much as I can.
Well, okay, let's accept your more benign and less frenetic interpretation of migration than the one I give. I'm just looking forward to the future and wondering whether our best and most enterprising, large numbers of them, are always going to be looking elsewhere. And I long for the time when that is not so. But you know, that gives us pause and takes us to the issues that have to do with education and services and opportunities here in Jamaica. Of course, the issue of crime arises. Former Minister Charles, we are back into the regimen of states of emergency.
Yes.
How do you see this working? Do you see this having any more success than before? Once again, I noticed the police commissioner, who I must confess I'm disappointed in, indicating that he feels that the states of emergency are the things that keep down crime. I find that an extremely superficial view.
Well, let me say this, Ronnie, and I would like to invite you over to my side. It is not the politicians who determine whether we have a state of emergency. It is a security force that comes to the politician and outline what they need to keep the country at a level where we expect them to have it. So in other words, if the commissioner and his team comes to you as Prime Minister or as government and say, look here, we're having problem in this parish, and unless we can mobilize and scrutinize and do certain things, we are going to have worse. What are you going to do? Tell him no? You're a politician, and in fact, if the politician tells the security leaders no, and the security leaders tell the rest of supporters of the politician, they turn against you. So I don't know why we are saying that it is the government that caused the state of emergency. The government cannot call the state of emergency unless the Security Council is convinced from the presentation of the police, who have the responsibility to keep us safe. So what are we going to do? Tell them, of course, I know you're going to say we need to examine. Yes, we examine. We have to examine. And it has to be critical. That's why we have PNP and JLP are two parties to look at to see which one is right and which one is wrong, or we both can collaborate to work together. In this instance, I will tell you, I am worried when I hear the amount of people who are dying. And when the police tells me that they need to do this because they have information that more people are going to be killed, because more of our gangs are getting together, and they need this or that to protect themselves and to protect us, what are we going to do? Tell them no?
No, we're going to say, I can't object if the security forces say that we need a state of emergency. But I'm a constitutionalist, and I know that the Constitution does not provide for a state of emergency to become a interminable crime-fighting device, mechanism. And I also would insist that while it may be necessary for a short period, that it is essential to look deeper than simply the exigency of gangs getting together or more guns flowing in. You have to go behind that and ask, why are these things happening and what are you going to do about it? And to what extent does the state of emergency really help with those fundamental problems, Pearnel?
Well, Ronnie, as usual, when you are sitting beside me or sitting away from me, and you say it the way that I would like to say it, I say you have said it for both of us. But
that gives me great pride.
In this instance, I agree that you agree with me that if the police force from Negril to Moran Point say, look, Security Council headed by the Prime Minister, our security on the ground has told us this. We need this to protect the nation. And the Prime Minister tells the police, no. Well, the Prime Minister is also telling me no for support too. But if the police is taking it just because they want to have a state of emergency, then it is the government, including both sides in Parliament, to come with their statistics to show that there's no necessity for it. So,
okay, sir.
So I will go with them, but I'll go with you to say it's not going to be a 2-year thing unless they can show us that they have been that successful in what they're doing and they want to continue it. And if they don't continue it, what will happen? They have to convince me.
All I need to say as we close this item of discussion, because there is one other I must get on to with you before our guest. That is what you have just said is a kind of reasoning that caused you to be interned unjustly for the time that you were, Mr. Charles.
It could be, Ronnie. However, there is also something that you can look at. Did the police really say this to the government? Remember, during the 1976, there were top policemen who were in charge of the state of emergency who said the first time they heard about the state of emergency was when they heard it on the radio that evening.
If that is so, then you would be correct. But it runs a risk, notwithstanding that possible or that alleged historical fact, which I know you agree. Pearnel, before time runs out on us, so you're a labor veteran. Tell me about the taxi drivers. What happened?
Ronnie, I'm glad I touched that, because let me tell you, I was Minister of Public Utilities and Transport in 1980s.
Yes.
The taxi men said they are going to strike. Now, let me say this to you. This is something I know you are opposed to. Here is it that you form a law in Parliament. We tell a taximan how to drive, how to license his vehicle, how many passengers to carry. And he said to hell with that. He is driving the way he wants to drive, carry the amount of people he wants to, and the police stops him and said, I have the law in my hand which say you are doing it wrong. I have to give you a ticket. The police gives him a ticket. He don't care. He has 100 tickets. He don't call on the politician and say, listen, I voted for you. I put you in power. You are going to cut the 100 ticket to 50. You're going to give me your own, whatever you want to call it. And I said, any politician, any prime minister that do that, lose my support. You can't, if I was a policeman out there and I give out tickets according to the law, and you're going to say, you have too many tickets, cut it in half. You know what I said to myself when I was listening to you, not there at my home? I said, Ronnie, you'd say, take your 100 tickets to the Halfway Tree Police Courthouse, speak to the judge, make a presentation to the judge, and if the judge finds that it is necessary so to do, the judge will take an action that no politician can stop. The law gives her that right, or gives him that right. Am I correct?
You are correct. And that is how I would want it to be.
No, one last thing, Ronnie, before you go, because this might be laughable. In the 1984, the taximen decided to strike on me. I called the commissioner of police. I called the assistant commissioner in charge of traffic. I said, you are going to see hundreds of people standing at Red Hills, Stony Hill, Halfway Tree, all of them want to go to school, want to go to work. I would want you to allow me to say to private drivers, people with private cars, if you are coming from Stony Hill to Halfway Tree and you have a license, you can carry 5 passengers, carry 5 passengers. I didn't tell them to pay them. But if the man come down and say, boy, I give you money to buy your gas, I don't see a problem with that. And guess what? By the next day, the taximen were back on work because everybody was taxi. Now,
yes.
You cannot have children standing on the road and you tell me you want something to be done illegal. And if the government don't do it, you are blocking the road and even boxing people out of a taxi that go into it. That is not even here you can do that.
I agree. But let me answer the question before we break for the time signal and to welcome our guest, the Minister of Education. Why do you think the taxi people behave in the way that they do? And apart from giving them tickets and fining them, is there anything else that will stop that kind of behavior? Or is that, or are we in what Mr. Millwood of blessed memory used to call a state of chronic?
Ronnie, I'm going to say something and make me answer myself before I say it. I'm not now speaking to the Prime Minister. I'm not now speaking about the Minister. Because everything you say is on Prime Minister and Minister, you want to do it. No. As far as I am concerned, we went to Parliament, you and I were there, we put up a document and said this is the law, and we passed it to the police according to what the law says. Why are we saying that these guys have the right to say, I vote for you, so you must come and tell the police what to do? Why?
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. I want a fundamental rethink about public transportation policy, Mr. Charles.
Oh, okay.
I want us to determine whether or not we are going to, what it seems to me to be an inevitability now of everybody accepting that small cars are going to take over from the poster bus of your era.
Ronnie, let me disturb you and say this. Let me disturb you and say this to you. With what is happening, and I'm going to take some of them, the Kingston and maybe Clarendon or Maypen, Mandeville. Let's take Montego Bay. Let's take some of the areas, heavy population. There is no transport policy that we have now that can work there. You take a bus an hour and a half or 2 hours from Price Right to downtown. It takes a bus an hour sometimes from Halfway Tree to Papine. Why? The road is packed with cars. Now, is there a transport policy which says, a public transport policy which says people can drive in bus? Is there some way of saying, if the road is full of cars, how are you going to get a bus? You cannot have a public policy, a public transport policy with what is happening in Kingston and in other areas today. Right? Unless you are, and I tried to talk to a man. He said he has to have a car. His wife have to have one because the wife have to pick up the children. And I said, but tell me something. What is going to happen when everybody say that? He said, well, Mr. Charles, don't you have one and your wife have one?
Yes.
And he's right.
I know that. Yes, he is. But what you have just said, realistic though it is, means that our corner is dark. Because even if we keep on giving out 100 tickets, it's not going to stop, you know. And I don't like, life is short. I don't like to be a part of exercises of futility.
Pearnel, Charles. Randy, we are going to go to the break. But let me say quickly to this. I do not accept the present policy that is operating to be able to work. It cannot work as it is now. Remember, I tried it. I tried to split up Kingston in several areas. It cannot work. And if you think the Prime Minister put on 10 more roads, in 10 weeks, they have 10 more the amount of cars. It will be 3 hours, and production will only be getting 6 hours a day instead of 8 hours.
And consider too, I'm not excusing one thing like this, but if the taxi man doesn't take back the $3,000 or $4,000, maybe $5 now, that he has to the owner man, and leave something to buy gas and to carry home to his family, the bank loan will not be paid. A vast amount of Jamaica's savings is lent out to buy car, and we are going to have another kind of crisis emerging from the strict adherence to the law. Now, I'm not excusing it, I'm merely pointing out inevitable consequences. Mr. Charles, we're going to have to return to this one in the future. It's time for a break.
Management, Ronnie, you have to manage. So you're going to go. So you're going to go to the break. Yes.
When we come back, the Honorable Favor Williams, the Minister of Education, that you talks to us about some of the critical aspects of education. We look forward to that. Stay tuned to the Bridge 99. Thanks for being with us on the Public Eye. This is the Bridge 99 FM. I'm Ronald Thwaites. The Honorable Pearnel Charles is in the studio in Kingston. I'm by Zoom for today. And we welcome the Honorable Minister of Education, the Honorable Favor Williams. Hello, Minister.
I think, Ronnie, that somebody's going to substitute for her.
Okay, well, so tell me when that person is on. In the meanwhile, Mr. Charles, maybe we will finish this.
Are you there, sir?
Hello. Hi.
Hello. Oh, it's a lady. Yes.
Yes. Hi.
Tell us your name.
My name is Keisha Bailey. I am the CEO and Chief Wealth Strategist with Profit JumpStarter, and I'm a part of the initiatives with Minister Favor Williams.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Bailey. Pleased to meet you. Mrs. Bailey, what accounts for the rash of reported violent incidents in our schools? Have you analyzed it?
Well, I would not be able to speak with that at all. I'm involved around the financial empowerment sessions for teachers.
Oh, I see. Excuse me, I was given a misleading title. Well, tell us about that now. That one is very interesting, to empower teachers to be have better financial gains. But how is that possible in a situation where most teachers are barely managing their monthly obligations, man? The salaries are very low.
Yeah, so the initiative is the brainchild of Minister Williams, which is a fantastic initiative because it's around empowerment and expansion. Yes, admittedly, salaries may be low. However, I believe personally that it's within each of us to take control of our personal finances, whatever those finances may be, big or small. It is on us to take control of that. And these sessions are an excellent way for companies like ourselves through Profit JumpStarter to be able to teach their teachers and help them to feel more empowered around taking control of their finances and being able to make smarter decisions with their money and being able to see an opportunity to build wealth for themselves.
I am a little concerned, Ronnie, and I want to say schools, teachers. Teacher is a special profession. Teacher has always been a special profession, not only to children in schools, but to their parents, to community, somebody that we look towards. Now,
Yes.
why is it that something has happened? Either that the teachers have not been given increase, or their salary has been withdrawn, or what? How is it that all of a sudden the biggest problem in school with a teacher is salary, different from nurses, police, doctors, politicians? Some of the politicians and many people, when you say politician, they're going to say because you have a son and daughter. Let me tell you something. Some of the politicians themselves cannot live on what they're getting. Randy Thwaites, as an attorney, could get 2 cases in a week that pays him nearly as much as he got at a year. So if we are going to have just money for teachers, it's finished, because the teacher that helped me, I don't even know if he had gotten pay. I didn't pay him, but he threatened me that if I didn't learn, he would open my cocoa head and put education in it. That dedication of teachers is no longer there. Now, don't tell me that dedication can eat. Don't tell me that dedication can take care of their children. Don't tell me that. But all of us are Jamaicans, and we have chosen a profession which is a very serious position, because parents are carrying children to school now because they cannot take care of them at home. So, Ronnie, I say my piece because I remember the teacher Williams, that helped me and helped many of us who did not have food, clothes, nor shoes, nor the slate and a pencil. We didn't have no book and lead pencil. Slate and pencil. Small slate with a piece of pencil to go to school.
Got you. Miss Bailey, I want to hear more about this initiative, and I believe you're having a session for teachers.
We are. Yeah, but I wanted to add on as well, because for me, I can concur with those comments, because it is teachers who pushed me and developed my passion for learning and my passion for just wanting more and more education. I grew up in the inner city in Augustown and Hermitage. It was teachers who really instilled confidence in me that I could be anything. I could be more than my surroundings, and they were able to impart that knowledge onto me. So I'm very happy to be a part of this initiative with Minister Favor Williams, to be able to educate the teachers who educated me, but educate them now around how to take control of their finances. We've had one session.
I want to interrupt you, please, because help me with this. My little knowledge tells me that the teachers, in fact, are very adept in managing their finances. I reflect on the existence and the creation of the Tip-Friendly Society, which assists many teachers with frugal savings and investments. I reflect on the very strong JTA Cooperative Credit Union, one of the strongest in the country, which does the same thing. and has
Right.
allowed many teachers to leverage their grossly inadequate salaries into reasonable investments of home and other educational purposes. What more are we offering them at this time, Ms. Bailey?
So the sessions thus far have been around now thinking about different investing opportunities, what specific instruments look like. So I've done a lot of teaching around the different types of investments that occur and the purpose of each of these,
Like
and
what?
how do we, so unit trust products, what that looks like, the different types that exist, whether a growth or a income type unit trust, when to use them, how to think about them. We also talked about investing in the stock market, both in Jamaica and internationally, and how to do that these days with how and where technology is. How do we
Now, this
how
excites me. Is it really possible for a Jamaican teacher, the average salary of whom is probably when you add allowances, 2 million or a little bit more? Is it really a possibility for them to invest on an international stock market, Miss Bailey?
yes, yes, due to the introduction
Tell
of
us
something
how.
called so due to the introduction of something called fractional shares. So nowadays, same like how you can buy a piece
Fractional
of,
shares.
yes.
Uh-huh.
So you're able to buy pieces of shares of company as well. Like how you can buy piece of, half a bread, or so you can buy
My
half
Lord,
of a share. So with
what a
that,
comparison. Okay, and what kind of money is a fair start in that kind of investment? I'm very anxious to hear that for the teachers and others who are listening.
right. So the good thing is that you're able to start with very small amounts. You could even start with 50 US, 100 US, because you can buy fractional. You can buy 0.01 of a share. The
Uh-huh.
amount of investment is driven by the dollar amount. And so what I've been teaching is around the habit of consistency. It's not how much you're putting in that you need a large amount. You can put your small amount, but if you are consistent with putting that small amount and making consistent investments, that's how you're going to be able to build wealth and see growth in your portfolio.
Let me press you a little more. Pearnel, you can help. But when you open these opportunities, the prudence demands that you have enough information, either through a broker or an investment
Right.
advisor, to monitor these things because they're very risky. It may sound sexy and very
Correct.
interesting to have a fraction of a share in General Motors, but General Motors is a highly volatile stock.
Right. So that's where I come in now around the investing education. So what we've been doing is teaching the teachers around what to look for in these companies. How do we know that General Motors is a good investment? What do we look for? This is the
Uh-huh.
type of education we've been providing so that it's not that the teachers put the money and then, they're not monitoring their investments. They don't know what they're investing in, but teaching them how to be successful investors as well.
Well, I have two questions. First of all, is that advice, does it cost them? Is there a commission attached to this knowledge?
No, the sessions are through, they're free workshops. We actually have one tomorrow around investing and money management. The session tomorrow will be myself, Keisha Bailey, and Ricardo Allen from One on One. We're going to be talking about how teachers can create online courses for themselves to bring in additional income streams. And I'll be
Create,
focusing on,
create online courses for
right,
themselves? Like, you mean
right.
courses, pedagogical courses?
Right, so they could package their instruction around mathematics or English into an
Yes, yes,
online course,
yes.
working with one-on-one through its company, One Academy.
Well, I
The
don't know
teachers
who
would,
they are, but I presume they're some kind of middle people, and so that sounds productive to me, Pernell. If
yes,
the teacher has a skill, for example, and people pay billions of dollars for extra lessons in Jamaica,
right,
but if you can do this virtually, that's a second job. That's another kind of investment, eh?
right, it is. And it's
Hmm.
passive because the course is created once and then it lives online forever. And so you're able to continuously monetize through that course.
Conceptually. I
Yes,
think that there's a cultural barrier there, but it may be overcome. the cultural barriers that people want their child to get extra lessons face to face, which is a little different. But it's good for them to know that. The other question I have is, what are the returns that are when one opts for these investments? Right now, we have negative rates of return for savings in Jamaica.
Wonderful question. Right. So with investing, it is a long-term strategy, right? Yes, no, we have a period of time where we're having negative returns in the international market and locally as well. But we are looking at long-term investments. We're looking at planning for retirement. And so we're thinking 5+ years. Over that time, the history of the stock market on the international side has shown that 10% is a typical annual return over the long term, and bearing in mind the volatility, the pullback, the recessions that occur, 10% is that long-term average.
Ronnie,
Ms. Bailey, when you have these sessions with the teachers, what is the feedback you're getting? What are they saying to you?
Brilliant feedback. So we've had one so far, and at the end of the session, we sent out links for feedback from the teachers. They were very well received. We had over 250 teachers on our first event, and the feedback was that they really found a lot of value in the information, because what I did during the session was tie in a lot of practical elements, the how-to portion of it, not just the theory behind investing, but the how-to, the steps, the specific instructions that the teachers should be able to take to make these moves with their personal finances.
Yeah.
Ronnie, I want to ask her a question, because
Sure.
I'm worried about teaching, because those who they are teaching today are way above the standard, not necessarily in learning, in education, but in attitude and behavior that we used to have when we were children. Look at this way. The school board, the headmaster, seem to be secondary in problem with teachers. Everybody's talking about the Ministry of Education. The Ministry of Education cannot, in my opinion, satisfy all the teachers, all the schools in all the areas. Why is there not that strength, that understanding, that power given to the school board, the principal at first, and then all the teachers? Take, for example, a simple thing, Ronnie, and I started to bring it in here because I need to know, why is it that a politician, a group of political leaders must now tell me what dress Immaculate should wear? Or what?
They dare not do that.
Eh?
They dare not do that because the people who own and operate
Ronnie, they call.
That school wouldn't have it.
They call by many people. They call by many people, right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't want the school board, the headmaster and his teachers, and the
ridiculous.
church, for example, that own the school to say how you come to our school. They want to determine whether they wear clothes or not, whether they cut the hair or not, whether they shave or not.
I want to come back to that. But Ms. Bailey, I really want to say to you, I do think it's going to be a miracle.
Okay, go ahead and finish this money part, because it is one of the strongest things in the school today. Teachers need to survive more. Teachers need to own their own home, take care of their children, run their lives, and run the rest of us' life. Earlier in life, it wasn't so. It's as if the teachers were running only children's life. They didn't have a life of their own.
Well, there you are. So, Ms. Bailey, tell us, there's a workshop or a session that's coming up this week, is there?
It's tomorrow at 6 p.m. online at Zoom, on Zoom as well. The details are that I will be there, Keisha Bailey, CEO and Chief Wealth Strategist from Profit JumpStarter, to teach around investments and money management. And we're going to have Ricardo Allen from One-on-One, who's going to talk about the course creation and that being able to get that online income for the teachers. So we're pairing it together where we're showing a real life opportunity for teachers to make additional income. And once they make that income, we're going to be showing them how do they build wealth from that income.
Yes. Well, I hope you're successful. Tell me, is this going to continue? Is this going to be an ongoing program for
Yes, there are
teachers?
going to be a series of sessions. Yes, as I
Yes.
understand it, there are going to be a
Then,
series of
It
sessions.
has
then
to be
I'm obliged to
it
ask
has
you
to
as
be
we
attractive enough to stop the teachers from looking to another country to have that sort of life. We can do
well,
something
indeed.
here for them.
Yeah. Well, there's another issue too, Miss Bailey. This is by way of encouragement that while your thrust is towards teachers now, money management, the basic skills of money management are important to be inculcated in the student body as well as the teachers, Miss.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's part of the greater plan that the teachers also will be able to impart this knowledge to the students. And we're also looking at possibly hosting sessions for the students as well.
I think the latter is a very good idea, and I'm hoping that that will gain traction. We support you in that regard. Ms. Bailey, surprised to meet you. Happy to know what you're doing, and thank you very much for explaining to us today.
Thank you for having me on.
Thank you very much, Ms. Keisha Bailey of JumpStart, which is a program to encourage teachers to be better money managers. Mr. Charles, there's no water in the mouth, but quite frankly, I, I mean, it's good education for teachers, and therefore to be commended. But the level of savings that teachers are able to accumulate to make other investments is likely to be very small.
Yeah, Ronnie, again, I have to look at it in a broader perspective. Because as I said, if a person is going into teaching only to get a big money, that is not where you are going to find it. The teachers that I know, and I told you about one teacher who one of her students failed and her eyes were swollen. She was crying because
Yeah.
of the dedication she has towards her student. It wasn't the money, it wasn't the clothes, it wasn't from where. She loved them like she produced all of them. So I am in full support of the teaching profession because, as I say, if there were no teachers, there'd be no teachers. It is teachers who train teachers. It is teachers who train politicians, engineers, doctors, the greatest profession in the world. So we should try to do for them whatever we can because they are, in my opinion, one of the most important professions in the world.
Yes, sir, but before time runs out on us and we have to break at 1 o'clock with the global connection coming up, we have backed ourselves into a corner because we do this omnibus negotiation for the public service, of which teachers are not legally a part, but we bargain with them as if they were. Now, I know that this is a process that's being undertaken right now. We've heard from Minister Clark that $28 billion of the supplementary budget will go for increased compensation to public servants, no doubt including teachers. But Pearnel, if you are going to equate the percentage being offered to other elements in the public service with that of teachers, that will not offer them the value that's going to keep them here. Do you agree?
I agree, Ronnie, but I'll tell you something that I would like you to agree with too. Many of us know the problem, but none of us have ever said, apart from teachers should get more, police should get more, this should get more, none of us have ever said where it should come from.
Yeah,
None of us have ever volunteered to say, raise taxes. You have a government that don't raising the taxes for the past 5 years. Where do they get money from? If they don't get it from us to give back to them, you won't have any teachers.
Well, this is not a full solution to it, but I do believe that education is a supreme good, second only to health. And I believe that contributions from those who are benefiting from education need to be factored into the affording of education. That is one very important issue. This notion that education is free, whether purported by the late great Michael Manley or by the government of today, I do not believe is sustainable. Those who cannot pay should get full benefits without paying. But I know of ministers of government, I know of people who can fully afford the best education in Jamaica, who send their children abroad for education, but who will not pay a contribution to the children's education in Jamaica. What kind of thing is that, Mr. Charles?
But Ronnie, you're saying that on my behalf. So let me add back up to say, we should go to the people and let them know that there is a profession, there's a group of people who are building the country, and if something has to be done for them, all of us have to contribute. All of us have to contribute.
On that note, we thank you to all of our audience for listening to the first hour of the Public Eye on the Bridge 99. We take the break now for the government observances and other things. And when we come back, we join Irwine Clare for the Global Connection with Irie Jam. Stay tuned. Irwine, are you there?
Yes, I am. Loud and clear.
Irwine is loud and clear.
By name and nature.
I'll keep it consistent. It's easier that way.
Irwine.
Yes, sir.
We're saying hello from Jamaica. Ronnie is not in Jamaica. He's on your soil. In what, the southern part? I understand you had a wonderful time up there with the Minister of Agriculture.
Well, first and foremost, let me say good day to your listeners and to welcome Ronald Thwaites to the 50 states of the United States, the country of the United States. I gather being in the South, he's there to ensure that all the election results were certified. Thank you very much for that external observation, sir.
I think he's too close to somebody when he's in the South there. He may, I don't know if he went to the presentation and announced last night.
That's what you did, Reverend Thwaites. You're at Mar-a-Lago. I was looking through the crowd here, man.
No. I can defend him before he answers. Not Ronnie Thwaites.
Speak for yourself, Rev.
I want to know from you what on earth is happening in your democracy that man can put up his head again.
Well, that's part of what makes this country a unique place.
That's why it is democratic.
Well, as I say, unique. Democratic these days is a loose term. But let me address what Mr. Charles asked me, Mr. Thwaites. Yes, the Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries was in town last weekend, and I gathered he had a successful town hall forum from what was indicated, and at all his sojourns. We're still awaiting to find out exactly what would have been decided on, the opportunities that would have been established or agreed on. But he was greatly welcomed here in the tri-state area. And in fact, in addition to the Minister of Agriculture and Fishery, were also the Deputy Speaker, and you'll be familiar with this, of the House, Member of Parliament, Mrs. Juliet Holness. She was in town as the patron for the ISA Trust Foundation, raising funds to build a new clinic, children's clinic in St. Anne. And it was a resounding success last Saturday night, and we want to thank and say kudos to the ISA Trust Foundation for their endeavors. So those are some of the hallmarks of last week as government ministers travail this part of the diaspora, gentlemen.
He asked me, Irwine, to apologize to some radio commentators who needed to have him on their show, and he didn't get on. I said, it couldn't be you. But
No. We had a thorough conversation.
But if it was you, he has asked me to apologize to the one that he could, and that he's going to send me up earlier to cover that for you.
All right, very good. We had a very good dialogue here on Irie Jam moving forward last Wednesday in preparation for him coming to the United States, and it went pretty well. Very eloquent, and we now look forward to the following up of eloquence with action, and I'm trusting that folks here in the diaspora would have given him some suggestions, and we hope to see them fulfilled.
Ronnie asked you a question about the politics, and I'm going to show only that I heard on one of the American television station, that what took place last week is, they say, probably looking at the death of the GOP, and with Mr. Trump coming yesterday, is a burial.
I think that
I added the last part.
Okay. I think that's premature. because the rate at which things goes, and Ronnie asked me the question, and I said unique. The rate at which things go, and his encouragement, and I hear the GOP members speaking of alternatives, and there'll be many others in the race. That's exactly what Mr. Trump wants, because he has his 35% solid and can build on that. I'm not certain about the newcomers coming in and several persons coming into the race. It paves the way for him to a clearer pathway to becoming the nominee.
Well, then if that is so, and since that is so, the likelihood is that the decline of democracy in the world is going to accelerate. This has grave implications for us in Jamaica.
Sure.
It would be a reaffirmation of authoritarianism, which is the opposite of democracy.
Randy, you are a pastor, among all other things. I am not, but I'm going to say something now, right? 2 weeks ago, I was nervous that you wouldn't have any Democrats, much less to have the Democrat in charge of one of the Senate.
One of the houses, the Senate.
Yes. So, be like you would say, Ronnie. Be faithful. Be cheerful. Somebody bigger than us is watching this thing. America is a leading democratic country in the Western world, and it has to exemplify that. It has to show us that, because they are criticizing other people. They have to keep that in mind, that without their leadership, we have a problem.
Well, I must say that when we consider that whilst this was all taking place, the President of the United States was at a world conference, and from all indications, his performances there, he has gotten high marks, and I think that it is said too that he's basically the right guy at the right time for the situation that's taking place now. But before President Mr. Trump can expect to get to that point, a lot of things will take place, and there are a lot of things underground as it relates to his legal worries and the other infighting within the GOP. So it's going to be interesting times, and this is just another aspect of the day in our lives here in these United States. And as Ronnie says, its implication to the world is something that the world will be watching very carefully.
Yeah, but I want to pick you up, Irwine Clare. You said that Mr. Trump would have the 35% of the electorate, if you will, locked. Why? Mm-hmm. What do these people see? What do they want? What are their values?
Well, let's look at who these people are. Largely evangelicals, largely disenfranchised persons, and indeed folks who would say one borders on the fringes of white supremacy. That's a strong component still here in these United States for whatever reasons. I'm not going to get into that. And then there are folks who are just angry and feel that he is the leader of the angry mass or the angry posse.
Yeah, but how do you identify that 35? How would you identify that in numbers, calculating?
Well. I can't give you a number. I can just tell you that though that's a group that, if you look at it today, that even those persons who have won again for the GOP, and as they prepare to get their leadership in place, they are still worried about that Trump factor, that MAGA factor. They have not disassociated themselves from Mr. Trump. No, they have not. Even those in the Senate. Everybody is still walking on eggshells, although they're echoing that he's the one who brought, the losses on their party. I think what we have seen, though, is that the media, led by Mr. Murdoch's group, when you look at today's New York Post, a newspaper that was always lockstep with Mr. Trump, when they have as their byline that some guy in Florida announced for the election at the bottom of the front page.
That's what they have?
Yes, and then you turn to page 26 to find the story. Hello.
So you mean Fox News can be redeemed?
Well, I don't know if Fox News can ever be redeemed. Fox News will always have their intention, what they want. But I'm just saying that as it relates to Mr. Trump, yes.
I know we should make a joke out of it, but Ronnie never left his, what the thing you wear on the neck, Ronnie, you call it?
Clerical dog collar.
Yeah, no man, not the white collar, the shine one that come down like
Oh yes, all right.
To show your reverence. I'm sure you took it with you. And so what is happening there, you will pray for us.
Well, listen. You know, and that is part of it. The other piece, gentlemen, I just quickly want to just share with you in our musing time here is this. There's a story that broke out that the Prime Minister's wife was booed at an event in Florida. First, I must say it's unfortunate. The argument that is embarrassing. I don't see anything embarrassing about it because it's people's rights to do what they choose to do in a manner that line. I want to say this though, gentlemen, and this is something I've observed. When politicians comes into this space, and I can only speak of this space here where I exist, you must be mindful that if you're on the program, people have an expectation of you. Just as how the Prime Minister's wife was on the program in New York for the foundation, the Easter Foundation event, and she was greatly accepted. She spoke and people clapped, everybody was cordial. But when you go into a space where you're not on the program, and you look at the Jerk Festival, people would have been there from midday, probably drinking, eating, having a great time. And you're now in purse time where it's music time. And yes, our Consul General would have brought her on stage. Yes, fine. Wave your hand. People clap. But sometimes there are some microphones that you avoid. All right? Because that's just how it is. And I just want to say to folks is that it's unfortunate it took place, but it's how people would have viewed, it's their right to how they respond. And you must also understand too, it's happening at a time too when words allegedly said by the member of parliament would have caused consternation in our society. So these are the things that happen. Joe Biden gets booed too. Donald Trump gets booed too. So it's not nothing to be embarrassed about. It's just part of life. But as leaders, we must recognize that there's some spaces a bow and a wave the hand is sufficient.
Oh, yes. Well, that's not all of us are political science students, you know. So some people are of other profession and such say they don't get into it. But it will wash off. Don't worry about it. Randy, what do you say about that?
Decent people must always be courteous, you see. That's what I have to say. And courtesy is in terms of what you say and what you don't say, and also in the response that people give.
Right.
Yes.
Indeed.
And it's so unfortunate that some of the younger and less experienced political actors in Jamaica are more tribalist than the worst of us old people were ever.
Indeed.
Time for a break, Irwine Clare.
Indeed, it is. As we do that
The public
global
will
break.
return.
Sure. We welcome you back to the Global Connection, and this connection is truly global because Pearnel Charles is in Jamaica, Ron Thwaites is somewhere in the United States of America, and I am here in New York. My name is Irwine Clare. We welcome you now back to the public eye in the Global Connection here on Irie Jam, the Bridge FM 99 FM in Jamaica. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you,
Very
sir.
much
Thank you very much.
Have we got a guest?
Yes.
Yet or coming later?
Okay.
So Mr. Wood is here, right?
He's on?
I'm on. Yes.
Yes. Oh, well, gentlemen, first let me give a quick intro on this gentleman here, and we won't hold this against him. He's from Trinidad, you know, but and moved to the United States for tertiary education when he was 20 years old. Attended the University of Pennsylvania. Of course, that's where the Penny Blades are held. And he has, for the past 5 years, worked at J.P. Morgan, and most recently 3 years he has been working as an assurance engineer at Mayax Exchange Group, where he helps to run the Miami Stock Exchange. Chikize continues to live in Philadelphia. He's a member of an organization called YCPN. And he's the president now for the past 4 years, a board member for 4 years. And this is an organization that has provided a lot of opportunities and scholarship funds to individuals. They first started out at $10,000 per year. Now it's up to $40,000 in cash. And representing the Young Caribbean Professional Network is Chikize Woods, and we welcome him to the Global Connection right here on, of course, the station with Mr. Pearnel Charles and Reverend Thwaites. Chikize, how are you, sir?
I'm well, thank you, Mr. Honorable Irwine Clare. How are you doing today?
No, the other two gentlemen are honorable. I am Irwine Clare. All right.
You understand
No, sir,
that? We'll make
very
you
honorable.
honorable. Don't worry about it.
Pleased to meet you. And
Thank you.
just to
Pleased to
know,
meet you as well.
what motivates you to engage in this kind of activity? How is it structured?
I mean, for me, and I was reflecting on this recently. What really motivates me is that I was a beneficiary of a lot of support that was specifically targeted towards Caribbean students when I was in university. I received something on the order of like $40,000 US a year when I was in university, and so for me, it's just a sense of giving back first and foremost. I want other people to have the opportunities and the experiences that I had. I feel that like these opportunities and experiences have really made me who I am today. I couldn't have gone to Penn, a school like Penn, without it. And so, I really just want to make sure that other students also have that similar experience, are able to get through college in a way that is helpful and successful. Helps them to be their fullest potential. So,
Well, that's good. How have you structured it? Who helps you? What kind of institution and what kind of sustainability does the movement have?
Yeah, so how we set it up is, so we are a nonprofit. This is one of our programs that we do. And we have a number of programs, but this is our flagship program. And how we set it up is that we have a scholarship committee that reaches out to the universities and has connections, contacts. We foster those connections and contacts with the universities and with the student groups at these universities over the years. Like the Caribbean student group at Penn, or like the West Indian student establishment at Drexel, and so on, like that. And we send out the application. So we have an application process that we've set up over time, and we send out the application, students apply, and then we have a scholarship committee that judges the applications. Alongside that, we have a fundraising committee that works with our sponsors, whether it's individual sponsors like you and I, who can donate with our credit card or whatever, as well as particularly our corporate sponsors. So we have partnerships with big companies that we've had over the years, and we continuously try to develop those even now so that they can put us as part of their charitable giving for the year. Ideally we want to be on somebody's payroll each year so they can give us charitable giving. And it works both ways, right? Because like this year, one thing that we included was also a career fair. So these same students who we've identified as being outstanding and successful, and we want to award them a scholarship, are also students who employers, while they are giving us money for a scholarship, also realize, wait, we need to hire students. We need people for internships. We need people for full-time jobs. And so we had a career fair where we had those same students come and meet the employers directly and say, what jobs do you have for me?
Chikize, share with our listeners the importance here of the membership and where it's drawn from and their connection to corporate America, because that has always been a missing piece where we have not been able to capitalize on external funding into our community. Share with us that linkage.
Yeah, that linkage is so important. I mean, I think that there's so many students and young professionals who are, from the Caribbean, but who make these connections when they go into the corporate world. I mean, I can just even speak for myself, having worked at JP Morgan. A simple thing, working at these big companies, is that a lot of these big companies provide matched donations. So if you work at a big corporation, particularly a Fortune 500, whether it's you're working at GM, JP Morgan, you're working at Pfizer, and we'll talk a bit more about Pfizer in a minute. You donate $200 to YCPN. Your company will also donate $200 to YCPN, and that's because they get a tax break on it, right? It's actually cheaper. It saves them money if they give it to a nonprofit than if they give it to the government as taxes. And so that's just one way where we say, young people and young professionals who have Caribbean connections or Caribbean heritage and want to support us, this is one way you can absolutely make your money go further by literally doubling your donation. Go ahead.
You know, Ronnie and Mr. Charles here. One of the things that Caribbean organizations, as you know, we are geared towards raising fund to send home to our respective nations for all kinds of charity. And one of the areas that normally these funds comes from is from your dinner dance and your raffles and stuff. Inculcated in what Chiquise is talking about here now is that we now find our young, especially our young people, heading into corporate America, who are understanding of that situation, where as this whole matching fund, we normally would have give funding to Salvation Army and all those entities, which is fine. But we also have registered 501c3 organizations within our Caribbean community. There's a plethora of them. And I think now that whole dynamic is now being changed now, where people are recognizing that they can make their tax contribution to Caribbean organization, which will then streamline a new funding mechanism into our community, which bodes well for charities at home as well.
But that sounds like it has huge potential.
Huge potential. I mean, you know, one of the things we try to do, because so we're giving money to students who are here in the U.S., right? But if we, you know, think about some of these applications that we read for this year's cycle, you know, so many of these students are, you know, in much in the way that I was as well, and maybe still continue to do, are helping support their family members, either back home or even the ones who are here as well, right? So the students are working while they're in school. You know, I have siblings in school right now. I'm the oldest. I have siblings in school right now who I'm helping them through school as well. And similarly for the students who are in, you know, all these applications, you know, we give them, you know, $2,000, you know, of a scholarship, but we know that $300 or $400 of that is going to help mommy with this, or, you know, is going to help brother with that, or something like that, you know. And so, you know, the impact is beyond even just the individual student. And, you know, that money, and because we are a volunteer organization, because, you know, Team Jamaica is a volunteer organization, this money is going directly to help the students. You know, it doesn't come to any of us. It just goes directly to support them.
What is the kind of demand that you're finding? The Honorable Pearnel Charles and myself both came to American universities and benefited from philanthropy such as this, but I have the impression that there are large numbers of Caribbean students who would need your help. How do you see the movement developing?
Yeah, I see there's a lot of demand because, you know, so even though I benefited from sponsorship as well, at the same time, it doesn't cover everything. So if you want to, and it's really important, because if you as a student want to get ahead, if you want to take a summer class, financial aid doesn't cover, and even if you're getting the best financial aid, it doesn't cover summer classes. If you want to study abroad, you know, and learn a new language, which really, you know, as we all know, gives you a leg up in your career, that is definitely not covered by financial aid. That is something that people have to pay out of pocket for. And, you know, one of our students, one of our scholars, she's in London right now, you know, studying abroad. And, you know, that we know that went directly to her housing. In fact, you know, she reached out to us and said, how can you mail this check to me so that I can put it right towards my housing right away? Because I can't come to the award ceremony because I'm in London right now. You know, and so we're seeing that the impact, you know, can be very immediate and is very necessary, particularly beyond just, you know, funding the day-to-day expenses, but also helping students in situations where we want them to get ahead. You know, if we think about like all these unpaid internships, really shouldn't exist, right? We don't like unpaid internships, but at the end of the day, in order to get that leg up, the students have to take it, and they need the support.
Let me say this: I noticed you were born in Trinidad. You're from Trinidad.
Born and raised.
Born and raised. These people that you're assisting, is there any plan set out that they would go back, not only to Trinidad but to Caribbean islands, to look at what's going on there? We need skilled people. We need leaders. We need generation. Rani and myself will tell you that a generation that should have been coming on right now, most of them are abroad. Leadership position. Mm-hmm. They ran away from the 1976. So with what you guys are doing, if we can get some people to work towards some leadership in the Caribbean. They're not coming back to find themselves at the same social level. It may be low, but if they are committed to what they're doing, they can come and help.
That's a good question. I don't know if we are, as an organization, I can say that we are there yet, because that often comes down to a very individual question. But I think, we do work with a lot of people who move back and forth. I know that, as leadership of this organization, we move back and forth a lot, helping out students, helping out young professionals, even in the Caribbean. We have supported students who are going to UE as well, not only students who are going to school in the US. And so, that's a great point.
Yeah.
I think we can work towards bringing more students back down to the Caribbean and say, hey, this is how you can contribute to build up your own island.
One of the things, I can speak on his behalf, something that Blaine Stoddard, one of the founders of this organization, he has always spoken about, and that is this organization provides itself as a repertoire as a depository for companies in the Caribbean who are looking for skill sets in various areas to look within the membership and see of persons who may have interest, because there have been persons who have come out of this organization who have gone back to respective nations and have gotten significant responsibilities. So there's a win-win there, Mr. Charles, and I think that it is part of their progress. But I think what is important here is the piece that we have to ensure that our young people who are now going into corporate America recognize that it's not just a job for them there, but how does their function there, their responsibility there, can channel external funding back into our community. Because especially now going forth, the challenge for for funding is a major one, and all hands on deck are required.
That is true.
I'd like to ask, certainly those who are the recipients, even if they don't ideally come back to their Caribbean territories of origin, at least they should be encouraged, and I hope you do, tell me how, to join the movement, and in fact to broaden it. And something which is as integral as this must look to sustainability. Its leadership must look to succession, and that ties in with my second comment, because throughout this program, even before you gentlemen joined us, we've been talking about this relationship of the Caribbean people with, let us say, North America, and the need for a whole lot of thinking, as to how we conceive of a new political economy, a new social order, which blends the relationships, not in a haphazard fashion, not in some zigzag way, but has certain principles that are going to recognize that we are inextricably bound to each other.
Ronnie, I just wanted to add that organizations like this one could look at what we have in the Caribbean and train them here. Send trainers back here to help us train on the ground here, because it is difficult. You wake up tomorrow morning, a team from some university is in Jamaica, and they're going to all our high schools. They're looking at all the good footballers, all the good cricketers, all the good runners, and they offer them scholarships. There's no program. There's no program to say, take them, train them, send them back here. So we are always at where we started, as Ronnie was saying, what is going to happen to us if everybody is trained and stay there, and they keep coming. Tomorrow morning somebody will be at the hotel to invite nurses at at a high cost. If you owe any money in Jamaica, we pay it off for you and take you. Teachers, if you owe any money, we pay it off and take you. We need teachers. Yes, somebody, some organization needs to say, all right, you don't want to come, let's train you in Jamaica and tie you there. Train you in Trinidad and tie you there. Tie you in the Caribbean, because we're people who want to live too.
But you see, you use the term. You use the term just now. Tie you there, and that is part of the challenge. What is tying the individual in Jamaica to stay there, and you know, because the grass to them is always going to be green on the other side. But you and I know that there are certain challenges in Jamaica that encourages persons to leave, and that's the reality.
Yes,
that's the reality of the situation.
But I will tell you something. Ronnie Thwaites and Pearnel Charles had the privilege of being trained abroad.
Yeah.
And we didn't come back because we get a big job here. We came back here and we started
and there are those and even now there are people like that, but not sufficient. We're talking about brain drain, you know, of you training teachers and nurses in Jamaica, and they look elsewhere. What is it that we can do to keep more of them in Jamaica? That also have to be addressed as well, sir.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. So just to circle back to one of the comments made earlier by Mr. Thwaites, is that, you know, when we give scholarships, we don't walk away. We don't hand these students money and let them walk away at all, at all. So they definitely sign a contract as part of their receipt of the scholarship, which is that they agree to be ambassadors for our organization, Young Caribbean Professional. You know, and we call on them for various things. You know, most recently we had a student. She participated in a memorial event for one of our big sponsors, because we said, you know, if you and she and I went, you know, we can go and present to the family the work that we have been doing as an organization, and you know, the student is a product of that, to encourage the family to give us more money.
Indeed.
Right.
Indeed.
Or when we want to reach out to, you know, when we participate in other events, we definitely have these students involved. And I would say that, you know, I am very much a product of that, right? I wasn't a scholarship recipient, because, you know, the scholarship didn't exist when I was in university, but I became a member when I was in university, and I moved up through the organization, and now I'm the president. So we definitely are trying to develop that pipeline where we, you know, bring in students, young people, and keep them as part of the organization and as part of the mission. But to talk more about, you know, about sending students back. I think that is definitely something we could look at and work on. You know, as an organization, we're really trying to support, you know, what is right in front of us, which is, you know, what is right in front of us here.
Mr. Wood, if you don't look at that, you continue to be training for over there and taking half people here, full them there, stay, and we keep that revolution without any fire, without any support here.
Anyway, gentlemen, hold that point. We have to take a break. When we come back, we're going to continue the dialogue right here on the Global Connection with Ronnie Thwaites, Pearnel Charles, our special guest, Keisha Wood, who's the president of the Young Caribbean Professional Network. We'll be right back. We welcome you back to the Global Connection. Gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
I have a question before time runs out on us, Irwine.
Yes.
You see, the Pearnel and I are musing. The trek northwards is inevitable. It is part of our culture and our history, to go places where the Caribbean people can do better. It is, for some, a reverse middle passage. For others, it's a passage to paradise. So they see it. The lines in the for visas at the Canadian High Commissions and American embassies and British consulates in the region are tripling. We need to conceive of a culture, of a political economy that technology and the ease of travel and all of these things allow, as they never have before, for the concept of a nation as being a place of cultural identity, but without the constraint of land and sea and distance. Is that too vague? Is that too impossible to consider? If it is, if we don't do that, then the brightest and best will always go with efforts like the young professionals to bring some back, and the what left will stay on our shores. I refuse to accept that as being our fate. What does Wood and Clare think of is the solution?
Ronnie,
hold on, Keisha, go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead,
if I was to go first, then I would say that I could talk personally about myself first. That I would definitely want to return. I've talked about it, thought about it a lot, But I also realized that, if I want to return to Trinidad, and live a certain quality of life, then I also have to return to Trinidad with a career, quote unquote, that looks the way that a Trinidad employer would accept me, right? Or I have to come back with a business plan, and I have to figure out how to make that work in Trinidad. And so we have to make, first of all, doing business easier in Trinidad and in the Caribbean. I have to say that, it looks like doing business in Jamaica looks actually much easier than Trinidad these days. And that's actually speaking from, my own personal experience and, looking into both of these things. Particularly from me, it's on the financial technology side. If I want to work in a financial institution and work on technology, whether it's payments or the stock exchange or anything like that, I realized that I have to come back to Trinidad with at least a master's degree. Because everybody, because UE is free, everybody has a master's degree. And it's not to say that, because I don't have a master's degree as yet, I'm currently doing it right now, that I don't know what I'm doing. But I've had this experience, right? And I've worked in these different jobs, but I realized that if I knock on the door of Guardian Life tomorrow in Trinidad and tell them, I have this experience, I want a job, they'll say, well, where's your master's? You can't come and work with us because I have other people with master's degrees. And so breaking down, this idea that, purely qualifications is everything, or at least not even just that, but the structures that we have in the Caribbean that are a vestige of colonialism. I think that's really important for us to be able to woo people back. It needs to be easier for people to come back and set up shop and say, this is the way we want to help our country.
Ronnie, what you just mentioned there just now, it's like me saying to you that a bridge has been built and we say how great this bridge is. But what is the benefit for those who have built the bridge? You need to put up a toll. So therefore, if that's the nature of the business where the attraction for people elsewhere is going to be outside of Jamaica, outside of Trinidad, then how do we find ways to make sure that there's some reciprocal benefits here? It's just like me saying to you, you want lemons and there's a lot of lemons. We make lemonade. You want lemonade, then you have to, you have a lot of lemons, you make lemonade with it. And the point is that if the world wants our teachers, and I think you have said so before, Ronnie, the world wants our teachers, the world wants our nurses, train 10,000. 7,000 is going to go away. We only need 2,000. So we have to realize that these are the realities of the world. Globalization, which we all thought was the answer to everything, but it also has some of the challenges we face right now. And so I'm not giving up on that. I'm just trying to find ways, how do we find the silver lining in these dark clouds? That's what we have to do.
Irwine, do you know that we started exactly there this morning? And as a political science student, I want to say, you look at what is called nationalism. What money do I need to stay in Jamaica? Is it money, or it is family, or it is recognition for the building of a nation from the bottom, wherever you fall? Did I come here, and if I can be treated like I was being treated abroad, I gone? You're not going to be accepted at that level. Are you prepared for that? Right? Is your nationalism human? There's a human quality in it that you can be able to say, well, I understand. I understand that and some of us come back and think we are king. So we come back, everybody else is nobody. And it is not as easy as that. The change has got to come. Ronnie Thwaites has always said, how do we mix the beverage at Jamaica local? How do we mix the sugarade that it's not too sweet, it's not too fresh, but everybody can get a little of it? And people can, and there is also the question of back home too, back home have a resistance to that sort of change, and we have to recognize that. Right? Because you think you go America, you go and you get money, you come back and you're big, you think we're nothing.
That too.
And then somebody going to say, oh, come. I come back, I recognize what you're thinking, but I'm back here for us to work together. And you don't come back with a Cadillac and the man still is barefoot walking and you drive past him. It is what I call the kind of nationalism, human quality that we have to develop and recognize that people are people, and the higher you get, what I say, Ronnie?
I don't want to say it publicly.
but listen.
But Ronnie, you were up there. You leave America and you went to Britain and get another the biggest scholarship. You did not have to even look back here. And you're back here. And where did you go? Central Kingston. One of the areas where social level, political and economic level is at the lowest point. Did you have to be? You have been begged every day to come back to where you were to come and work and make some money.
Listen,
the good
gentlemen.
thing that I'm hearing,
yes,
because we don't have a full answer, is that there is a group called the Caribbean, the Youthful Young Caribbean Professional Network.
Yes,
exactly.
That keeps the blood flowing. That injects the pecan and the curry powder in ways that hopefully can last for generations. Keep up the good work. Good to hear from you.
Chiquiza Wood, thank you very much. Thanks for being a guest of ours here today, sir.
Thank you very much.
All right. So, gentlemen, as I wrap, the weather here has dramatically changed, unlike where Ronnie might be right now. And, this is a time, when, I was reminded yesterday by Bruce Golden asking me if I packed my baggage yet. And I tell him, yes, it's always packed and ready to go because, when it gets cold here, I run. But again, though, I just want to say that Jamaicans, by large, in the diaspora, still continues to view their responsibilities to their homeland at one of the highest levels. And, we still recognize that the solutions have not yet been found. And there are many people, many people who are committed to that. And I think it will call for partnership. And we all don't have this. We don't have the solutions individually, but collectively, I'm convinced that we can arrive at such.
That word you used there, Irwin.
Happy to be with you on the Global Connection. All the best until next week.
Yes, sir. You're saying, Pearnel.
That word you use, partnership, is very important because don't care how high you are or how low you are, there's some level that we can join and be comfortable with both sides.
Great. Thank you very much. Until next week again, gentlemen, stay well.
Thank you very much. Mr. Charles, one question. Difficult one for you. Do we expect to hear from the Prime Minister about Mr. Warmington's ex-presence, or he's just going to deal with it privately or not deal with it at all? What
about the state of emergency?
No, about Warmington.
I didn't get that. About what?
About Warmington.
Oh, Mr. Warmington?
Yes.
Well, Ronnie, you tell me, how long have you been living with Mr. Warmington?
20 years.
20 odd years. And what have you done? Have you ever had a discussion with him? Have you ever bring him in as a brother? Put away the politics and use the church. There are some of us, Ronnie, who you just, I don't know. I don't want to say that I have to work with. But I don't know. I see the ombudsman got a letter, sent him a letter, and he saw the letter after her term was up, and she said they sent the letter back from where it came.
So I would welcome the opportunity to relate to him as a brother with similar principles and an ethical public service. But if he has said something which is wrong, not only in the issue of the racial slur, but also in respect of how he manages the portfolio he's responsible for. If he has made a mistake, he must say he's sorry. He must resolve from what he has done wrong, and then we can talk.
Ronnie, when you get back here, I'd like to speak to you off the air about something, because I don't want to say it on the air before I know whether it is true or false.
All right.
But it's very important that you to keep that in mind, because there's more to what I am going to say than what we now know and what we heard.
Thank you, sir. I accept all your bona fides, and I'm particularly appreciative of the company that we keep on a Wednesday on the public eye. I'd like to thank LaFane, Jeffrey, Romy, all the people at Bridge 99, our colleagues at Irie Jam, and looking forward, if life is spared and the Lord tarries, to next Wednesday on the Bridge 99 FM. Till then, take care.
Take care of yourself and come back safe and bring
Thank
back.
you.
Let's say, bring something from you here, sir.
You peasants.
Yeah, bring something from you here, sir. Okay.